And welcome back to another episode of Double Doink Podcast. My name is Brenden D. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We're talking week 13. Bunch of fun games this week. We're going to skip out on the Thanksgiving and Black Friday games. We're just going to go right into Sunday. No one else to do than my man, my friend, Mr. Eric Wardsey. How you doing, bud? You got the Bears lid on. You're back.
Good. Ready to go. Week 13 with Big Man 13 himself. Here we go.
Week 13, dude. It's flying by. But we're in like the NFL Network announced like they're gonna start tweeting out playoff scenarios every week. Like it's that time of year. These games start to matter a lot more. Playoff races are starting to open up. Let's start with the Los Angeles Chargers on the road. They're 1.5 point favorites over the Atlanta Falcons. So you were kind of always not on the Chargers defense. You were kind of saying, let's see them play some good teams. And look what happens when they play a good team. They were torched on Monday Night Football. Lamar Jackson played really well. They couldn't really get after the quarterback. When they did, Lamar was able to scramble. But now you got a Falcons team in Kirk Cousins who can't really get out of the pocket. The offense has been slacking. This Falcons team is coming up back-to-back bad losses. Do you think Kirk Cousins can bounce back after a bye week?
Yeah, well, also don't forget 2 weeks prior, the Chargers defense got shredded in the second half against the Bengals too. So it wasn't just the Ravens last week. This defense has been trending in the wrong direction the last few weeks. Falcons coming in off a bye, and oh boy, I hope they use those 2 weeks to figure some things out, because the last time we saw the Falcons was that embarrassing performance against the Broncos where they just got absolutely taken to the woodshed.
And we both liked them that game.
So I know. One of our worst picks of the year was a lock for me. That game was over in the first quarter. I can't go back to Atlanta in terms of a lock. I'm going to take them for the sake of the show just because I think I'm going to get a desperate squad. Listen, Tampa's getting hot. This NFC South all of a sudden isn't a cakewalk for the Falcons. I'm expecting a desperate team here.
Yeah, this NFC South is up for grabs right now after the Bucs' big win, or like not big win, it was the Giants, but they steamrolled them. They got someone on their tails here. They're going to need to get their play going here, kind of back to what we saw earlier in the season. Just quickly on the Chargers, like Quentin Johnson, just like the worst thing in Monday Night Football. 5 targets, 3 drops, just ugh. That was kind of his rookie season. The one, like he would have ran for 4 years. He'd still be running if he didn't drop that ball. So they need him to get going. Ladd McConkey's done everything. He actually leads all rookies in EPA, all pass catchers, even ahead of Brock Bowers right now. Like he's doing really well for them, but the Chargers need someone to step up. I'm going to take the Chargers -1.5. I just think they're the better team. I trust Justin Herbert more than I trust the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons pass rush is literally non-existent. They can't get after the quarterback. And if Justin Herbert has time to kind of pick them apart, the secondary is no dogs behind there anyways. I don't know if you saw this, but Raheem Morris called out Matthew Judon in the media this week saying we need more out of you. They're kind of in scramble mode. I don't think they get together. I'm going to be fading the Falcons going forward. I like the Chargers -1.5. All right, next up. The Indianapolis Colts are 2.5 point road favorites heading into New England. The Colts, they were a heavy pick last week by a lot of sharps. The +7.5. The public was on the Lions. The sharps were on the Colts. And the Lions just cover the spread. The Colts just couldn't get out of their own way, man. I've never seen a team just hurt themselves with penalties. Anthony Richardson had gains of 30, 21, 21, 7, and 17 nullified by penalties. They just, every time they went forward one step, it was 2 steps backwards. They have a real chance here to get back on track. Do you think they can heading into Foxborough?
Well, the second half last week in that Detroit game, they didn't have a first down until garbage time late in the fourth quarter. It was just pure dominance by the Detroit defense in the second half. This is an ugly game. When I think of New England and Indianapolis, those are 2 teams I just don't like watching. They just don't. There's no juice in this game for me. Somebody likes New England in this game because this game opened at 3.5. It's since gone all the way through the key number to 2.5. So there are people that put money on New England. I don't know why. I'm going to lean Indianapolis here and hope that they get right. I still think that this New England defense is on quit watch. And if Shane Steichen can commit to running the football, only 5 designed runs in the second half in that process where they weren't getting any first downs. So how about we hand the ball off and lean on this Patriots run defense, whose own head coach has called them soft earlier this year.
So I have two picks I like in this one. I was debating on which one to go with, a prop or a spread. I'm going to go with the prop because my other two locks are spreads. So I did two spreads last week in a prop, went 3-0 easily. So I'm going to go back to that kind of route here. I'm going to go Anthony Richardson over 181.5 passing yards as my first lock. The Patriots pass defense is atrocious right now. They're 30th in EPA per drop back. If you target Christian, just stay away from Christian Gonzalez, you're going to get our yards through the air. They can't stop anyone when you're throwing away from Christian Gonzalez. Anthony Richardson at 177 yards last week. Like I said, he left about 100 yards on the board. The week before that against the Texans, he threw for 280. So it's 100 over this total. 181 is just too low. I think this game, I like the Colts as well, -2.5, but I think it's going to be closer. Like, I think they're going to have to throw the ball. I don't think it's going to be a blow where they're going to be running the football. So 181 just felt way too low for me. So I'm going to take the over on Anthony Richardson pass yards over 181.5. And you just threw a look at me. You do not like this, do you?
Nah, well, guy can't hit the broadside of a barn, man.
He was playing well. I don't know what you're watching. Anthony Richardson is playing good football lately. Last week was not his fault at all.
I don't know. I think he's a bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL.
He has to get over 181.
The potential isn't going to change my mind until I see some results.
Well, you hate every single young quarterback in the NFL. That's just been your MO. All he has to do is get over 181 against the 30th ranked pass defense. Not too hard to do. I think you can do that. Quarterbacks have shredded the New England Patriots, and I'm also on the Colts -2.5. All right, next up, Seattle Seahawks are heading on the road to take on the New York Jets. They're 1.5 point road favorites. The Seahawks defense is humming right now over the last 2 weeks. They are 6th in EPA per play allowed. They did not allow a touchdown last week against an Arizona offense that was humming as well. They were 1st in EPA on offense the 4 weeks leading up to that game. And it's just kind of health-wise. Like, they're getting their guys back. Leonard Williams is playing really good football for them. When Byron Murphy's healthy now, like Mike McDonald has his horses, and we've discussed many times on the show, the second half of the season, we always thought the Seahawks defense is going to pick up, and it's looking that way right now. The New York Jets are coming off a bye week where they've been in the news. They've always in the news. I wrote up an Aaron Rodgers quote today saying that they have too many leaks coming out of that building. Yeah. They're just a disaster. It's like, you're the one probably leaking all this nonsense. It's so stupid in the New York Jets land. Do you think they can win off a bye week, Warnsey?
I'm going to be biased in Seattle Seahawks games going forward. I grabbed them to win the NFC West at plus 550 last week. Everything I needed to happen went my way with Seahawks winning and the 3 other teams in the West losing. Those odds have dropped down to plus 175 since then. So I will be biased in saying this, but I think that I'm on the Seahawks again this week. Jets are a straight fade team for me. Yes, they're off a bye, but they're still a give-up watch team to me, and they're an injured quarterback team. You have 2 angles here where you can attack the Jets, where there's a road where they just get blown out here. I don't know why Aaron Rodgers is still playing. He looks hurt. He's leaking. He's the leak in the locker room. He's the one leaking that he's a little banged up because he wants people to start feeling bad for him. He's going to try to tough it out. It's not going to go well. I really hope that on the offensive side of the ball for the Seahawks, they air it out. Because quietly, this Jets defense has been really, really poor against the pass. Don't waste downs with Kenneth Walker in this game. Let Geno air it out. I think they put up points big time.
You becoming a Geno guy just puts the biggest smile on my face, dude. It makes me so happy as a human being.
Having a good year.
The Jets have been terrible since Robert Saleh was fired on defense in general. 29th in EPA per play since week 6. Like, it's been a disaster. Breece Hall might not play in this game as well. He didn't practice today. And he's been their best offensive weapon as of late. And one more thing in the Jets, I don't know if you saw this. You see Woody Johnson's 17-year-old son, Brick Johnson, has basically been the de facto general manager since Joe Douglas has left. He is calling the shots. A 17-year-old kid is calling the shots for an NFL team, apparently. I'm going to take the Seahawks -1.5. I like it enough. I didn't like enough to lock it in just because, I don't know, they're coming off a bye. Like, Rodgers probably has one more good game left in him. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm already invested on the Seahawks as well. Yeah. So
No, I still think they win. Like, I do. Like, it just, I don't know, there's something keeping me away from locking. They just seem too good to be true a little bit with this line. So that's not gonna be a lock, but I do like the Seahawks -1.5. All right, up next, the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the road take on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are 2.5-point favorites at home. A 4-7 team is the favorite over an 8-3 team. You don't see this very often.
Yeah.
Books like it's. I had to kind of double check for a second. I'm like, this is this
I think,
definitely not a weekly scenario.
well, the spread opened at 3.5 for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think there were some people who just blindly bet, wait, the 8-3 team, or they're 8-3, right? The
Yeah,
Steelers
8-3. Yeah.
Yeah, the 8-3 team is the underdog. And betting Mike Tomlin as an underdog blindly has worked in the past. AFC North games, I generally just right away think under, but the Bengals couldn't be anything further from an under team right now. Their defense is just, they can't stop a nosebleed, and they should be getting T. Higgins back this week. So they're just adding another weapon to this offense that's really starting to find its stride. 47 seems like a crazy high total in a Steelers game, so I can't take that over. I'm in a blender here. I'm looking to fade the Steelers going forward. I do think they are on fraud watch. Their defense has gotten by playing weaker competition, specifically at the quarterback position. Joe Burrow could have a big game here, so I'm going to take the Bengals -2.5 for the sake of the show.
I actually thought you were going to be on the over here, Mr. Total Guy, because when I was looking at this game, like both
I
of
wouldn't
these,
be shocked if Russell Wilson throws for 150 yards here and they put up 10 points. I wouldn't be shocked, even if it's the Bengals defense.
When I was looking at this game, like both these defenses match up terribly against opposing offenses. Like the deep ball and run offense that is the Pittsburgh Steelers, like the Bengals can't stop anyone on the ground,
and
they get
so
beat
inefficient.
Deep. Yeah, and then if you look at the Bengals, like the Steelers play the single high coverage at the highest rate in the NFL this season. Joey Porter Jr. is their best corner. He follows the number one wide receiver around on the team. Out of 8 to 10 games this season, he's followed the number one wide receiver around 70% of the snaps. You can't do that against this Bengals because there's T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. So like the single high, and we know Joe Burrow shreds single high coverage. Is like that's been his MO since he's entered the league. So I just feel like it's gonna be a ton of points. This is probably my least favorite game of the week to pick. I'm gonna take the Bengals -2.5 as well, but I don't love it. Just like the Tomlin is an underdog. The Steelers coming off an embarrassing loss against the Cleveland Browns on Thursday Night Football. But something's got to give here. The Bengals are also desperate too. So the tough one for me.
Really tough one.
All right. Next up, the Tennessee Titans are on the road to take on the Washington Commanders. My favorite stat from week 12 was Will Levis had 123.3 passer rating, which is very good. He looked like he played well on the stat sheet. We look at the efficiency stats. He had negative -0.089 EPA. Where a player has over 120 passer rating and a negative EPA dropback has only happened 3 times since 2000. This was like a rare quarterback game. Why is that? Because one, he was sacked 8 times on 32 dropbacks and he threw a pick 6. He's just a hilarious player, a hilarious human being. This is another reason why passer rating is the dumbest stat. Like when you look at success at quarterbacks, because like sacks don't affect it, pick sixes like that don't affect it. So the Titans pull off the win in Houston. They did everything they could towards the end to give it up, but they end up winning. The Washington Commanders are coming off a terrible loss to the Dallas Cowboys, where they just the field goal kicker missed kicks. You can't even blame it on Austin Seibert because they were a mess in general. That game, Jaden Daniels had like 67 yards or something like that, heading with like 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So I don't know. Both these teams, I have a hard time grasping right now. Warren Z, what do you like?
I have a lock in this game. I'm not going after the spread, but I'm touching this total, and I like over 44.5. Everything you just said about Will Levis is music to my ears. The chaos, the ups and downs, it leads to points. This Titans team is really playing as an over team since Levis has been back. Rudolph, he's a much safer quarterback. That's an understatement of the year. Doesn't lead to the high totals. Levis, he grips it, he rips it. I hope he continues to do the same. And if you look at the teams Levis has played since he returned from injury, it's been the Chargers, the Vikings, and the Texans. 3 teams that can all get after the quarterback. Washington cannot get after the quarterback at all. So I do think he will have more time in the pocket. And on the other side, the Commanders' offense, over the last 3 weeks, they've had a tougher schedule. I know last week was the Cowboys. They still did have 400 yards of offense in that game, but it was very fraudulent, very phony 400 yards.
Yeah, like 250 of it came in the last like 6 minutes of the game.
Yeah. But before that, they did play the Steelers and the Eagles. So they've been tested recently with their good defenses. I think this Titans group is a little bit of a step down for them. I think they can put up points here too. So yeah, give me the over 44.5. I
All right.
don't really have a great feel on the spread. I think 6.5 is probably too many for this Washington team. That's you just lost to Cooper Rush, so I'm going to take plus 6.5 with the Titans.
Yeah, like I'm having a hard time getting out in the airwaves that I think the Commanders are frauds. I don't know if they are just yet, but like I think this is a good litmus test. Like if they let the Titans kind of hang around and play well in this
Yeah.
game, I like the Titans plus 6.5. I think Tony Pollard is gonna have a day in this one. He's quietly having a great season. He ran all over the Houston Texans last week, and the Commanders right now are 29th in rush success rate since week 7. They can't stop the run, and that's when Jonathan Allen went down. We brought up when Jonathan Allen got hurt. It could be a big loss. It's kind of starting to
Mm-hmm.
come to fruition. This Dan Quinn defense doesn't do a good job of kind of attacking double gaps, like or putting multiple guys in certain gaps to stop the run. It's kind of a one gap and fly system. So I think Tony Pollard's gonna have a nice one. I think the Titans keep this one close, plus 6.5. All right, next up, the Arizona Cardinals are on the road to take on the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are 3.5 point favorites. The Cardinals offense really struggled last week against the Seahawks, like we already talked about. Negative 0.221 EPA per play. That was the 4th worst in the league. Stat that blew my mind. Boy Mafe had 7 unblocked pressures last week against Arizona. I don't know how that happens. You know, one guy gets 7 free runs at your quarterback. The Cardinals offensive line was in an absolute blender against a exotic blitzer and Mike McDonald. Well, guess who is the most exotic blitzer in the NFL? It's Brian Flores. So this is kind of a big test again for the Arizona Cardinals offense. What do you like in this one?
This is a tough one for me to handicap. I see angles I like on both sides. Starting with the Minnesota defense, they allow the fewest rushing yards per game. My take on why I thought Seattle was going to beat Arizona last week was because I thought Seattle was going to take away the run game. Well, James Conner had 7 carries for 8 yards. They did that, and you saw what happened to the Arizona offense. So if they can't run the ball here, I don't really like their chances. But on the other side, an old school angle. The Minnesota Vikings are returning home after 3 straight road games. I think the public, most people look at that as, oh, they're home. That's great. They'll get a boost. When you're on the road for 3 straight weeks and you come back, the list of stuff your wife has for you to do when you get back, it is off the charts. You are not focused on football that first week back. Throw in it is Thanksgiving. So generally, the old school guys will tend to fade the team who returns home after a 3-game road trip. But I can't take Arizona. I'm still taking them at putting them in the fraudulent category. If Minnesota stops the run, I think that they're the right side in this game. So I'll take Minnesota.
Yeah, I had a really tough time handicapping this game. I think it's like the second hardest one besides Steelers Bengals. I'm going to take the Cardinals plus 3.5. I think they just have to play better than they did last week. I think they're going to bounce back. I really still like this offense to keep it close. Just the thing that's keeping me like full away is like Sam Darnold. Like he continues to play good football. Like I know we talked about pass rating being a kind of a bad stat, but right now he has 9 games with the pass rating over 100. That is tied for the 3rd most in Vikings franchise history behind Brett Favre and Dante Culpepper. He can break that. He could be the most successful passer rated quarterback in Vikings history this season. I can't wrap my head around it. And if Kevin O'Connell can continue to win games with Sam Darnold down the stretch, I think he's got to be the shoe-in for Coach of the Year, even with how good of a job Mike Tomlin is doing in Pittsburgh. So I'm gonna like the Cardinals, but I don't love it as well. All right, one last game in the 1 o'clock window before we take a break. The Houston Texans are on the road to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're 4.5-point road favorites. Trevor Lawrence, it looks like he's going to play in this game. He was a limited participant in practice, but he took most of the first team snaps. All the signs point to him playing again. It looks like the books as well are on that since the spread is only 4.5. The Texans offense still remains bad. Wardsey, can we finally see something from CJ Stroud and the boys on the road in Jacksonville?
I don't think there's a better cure for a struggling offense than the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, especially when your young quarterback is in a little bit of a funk. What do you need? How about we're only giving you man defense here? Ryan Nielsen, he's playing the highest rated man still in the NFL. They know what they're getting. There's a great matchup for Nico Collins. It's a lock for me. I'm on Texans -4.5. I don't care if Trevor Lawrence is back. I think he's going to be banged up, unmotivated, playing for a team that is on serious give-up watch. If you told me at halftime of that Lions game 2 weeks ago when the Jaguars were just getting blown out, if I gave you plus 500 odds that Doug Peterson would be coaching in 2 weeks, would you have bet that?
Probably not.
No, nobody. And the odds probably were like -500, let alone or -500 to be fired. So I can't believe he's still on the sidelines. I think this is serious give up watch for Jacksonville. Nico Collins has a big game. I really like his props as well, but I'm just going to, for my lock, take the Houston Texans -4.5.
I've been waiting 12 weeks for this moment right here. We are finally against each other on a spread lock. The Double White Podcast first of the year. It took 12 weeks, but we finally did it, Wardsy. I'm going to lock in the Jacksonville Jaguars +4.5. I hate this Texans offense. I hate it. I hate it.
Too.
They are 30th in offensive success rate right now. The only two teams that are worse than them are the Colts and the Browns. The Pittsburgh Steelers, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Dallas Cowboys, Carolina Panthers, New England Patriots, Chicago Bears, Orleans Saints, all better offenses. It makes no sense to me. I don't get it. CJ Stroud is not playing good football right now. The Texans' play calling has been bad, and the Jaguars' pass rush has dogs on it. They haven't done a good job this season, but no better team to do it than against this Houston Texans offensive line. Doug Peterson's coming off a bye week. I think this is his Super Bowl. He wins this one. He can ride off into the sunset after
Super
that.
Super Bowl for Dougie P.
Literally, this is it. He wins this game, and then the season was a success. Trevor Lawrence back, in my opinion, is massive. We saw Will Levis play well when throwing the ball last week on this Houston Texans defense. I hate this Texans team right now. I can't stand it. It's bugging me so much where I had to fade them this week because I can't stand watching that team play on the offensive side of the football. So there it is, Warrensy. We're both two locks.
Wow.
One of them is against each other. I like the Jags +4.5.
We're finally going toe to toe. That's crazy.
We brought it up like 2 weeks ago. Like, we haven't been toe to toe yet. It's got to come.
Not once. Yeah.
This is it. I'm excited. All right. That's it for the 1 o'clock slate. We'll be back on the other side with the 4 o'clock games and the night games. The Double Doink Podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Life is hard. It's especially hard when you don't have someone you can open up to. Not everyone is comfortable talking to their friends and family about their personal matters or anything that is bothering them on a day-to-day basis. Mental health is so important to continued success in this world. Therapy is a great way to regroup and get everything off your chest. Insert BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the largest online therapy service, 100% online. They will match you with a professional licensed therapist you can trust. You can talk with your therapist however you see fit, via text, phone call, or video chat. BetterHelp has successfully helped over 4 million people worldwide deal with their day-to-day mental health issues. Use the link in the podcast description to get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp. And we're back on the Double Doink Podcast, finishing up the 4 o'clock games and the night games. Next on tap, Los Angeles Rams are on the road to take on the New Orleans Saints. The Rams are 2.5-point road favorites. Lots of road favorites this week. I feel like I'm saying that a lot. I think with the Rams right now, it's kind of come down to, are they playing a good pass rush or are they not playing a good pass rush? Because this Matthew Stafford that we're seeing this year is different than previous years. He's always been good under pressure, getting the ball out and avoiding sacks. This year, not so much. He's 23rd in QBR when pressured, 6th when he has a clean pocket. We saw that kind of come to fruition last week against the Eagles. The Eagles were able to get after him. Stafford couldn't get the ball out on time. It kind of caused chaos for that offense. The New Orleans Saints pass rush isn't elite, but they still can get after the quarterback a little bit. Warrensy, what do you like?
This is my last lock of the week, and I am going on the Rams once again, -2.5. Darren Rizzi is a phony. I know a couple weeks ago.
Poor Rizzi. Just shred the guy. Guy's got 2 wins under his belt. And Rizzi, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry.
Big time phony, Mr. Rizzi. So we were both on the Browns a couple weeks ago. The score was 35-14 in favor of the Saints, but digging into that one a little bit more, the Saints defense gave up 440 yards of offense against the Browns. Jameis threw for over 350 in that game. So what's Stafford going to throw for in this one with Kupp and Nakua? The reason we were on Browns in that game was because the week before, the Saints got a very fraudulent win where they gave up 470 yards of offense to the Falcons. something has got to give with this Saints defense. They're giving up so many yards and somehow getting away with it. It stops here. Give me the Rams -2.5.
I also like the Rams. I don't think Grizzly's a phony like you just
Phony.
mean human being. But I also like the Rams -2.5. I don't know if you've been kind of following Alontae Taylor, the Saints cornerback. He's having like historically bad season. Just been a rough go for him. No, he's been around for a couple years. Like he was like they had high hopes for him
from Notre Dame.
Oh, it's Kool-Aid McKinstry's the Alabama rookie.
I don't know. The other I'm getting mixed up.
But he, over the last 2 games, allowed 289 yards and 2 touchdowns in coverage. And now Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp's coming to town. So I think he's going to have a rough day. I don't think they can get after the quarterback enough. I think the Rams offense comes back up to life. But at the same time, like it's been a rough last 2 games for the Rams. And they better show something here because the season's slipping away from them. But they have everyone healthy. There should be no excuses. All right, next up, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 5.5-point road favorites heading into Carolina. Before you poo-poo Bryce Young, I need to get my Bryce Young praise out right now. He's hooping right now, warran't he? Let's call it what it is. Let's call a spade a spade. Bryce Young is living the dream. I'm living the dream watching him. I'm so happy to see him play good football, Warren Z. It makes me so happy. 10th in EPA per play last week out of 33 qualifying quarterbacks. He has a positive EPA against the blitz in the last 4 games. He cooked against the Chiefs defense. He played really damn well. I like what David Canales is doing right now. The creative run schemes, the creative pass schemes. I think they've got something here. I really hope to see Bryce Young continue to play well. Do you think he can play well against Todd Bowles?
You know what I think.
You give him a little bit of love? Can you please give Bryce Young a little bit of love? He's playing good football. Did you watch that last week? 264 yards, a touchdown, 10 plus CPOE.
He got us the cover last week. We were both on the Panthers. He got us the cover last week. I'll give him some credit for that. But I picture if this was a Disney movie, everybody's just so happy about Bryce Young. Everybody's feeling so good, and Todd Bowles is just he's the bad guy, and he's just sitting in his kingdom, and he's just laughing, looking, watching everybody just be so happy about Bryce Young because nobody shuts down young quarterbacks better than Todd Bowles. I think he's going to have a game plan for him and shut him down here. And it's also just such a bad spot for this Panthers team after that. Last week was their Super Bowl. I know this is a division game against the Bucs, but they gave everything they had to beat a Chiefs team. They fall short. They know their season's over. They're not going anywhere. I like the Bucs to keep rolling. Baker's playing some good ball.
Yeah, it was kind of like their Super Bowl. You kind of laid it out good there. The Panthers were only the 3rd team in the Andy Reid era, including the playoffs, to score in 75% of their drives against the Chiefs. Like they put on as good a performance as you're going to get, and they still lost. It's funny because I gave all this Bryce Young praise, and my 3rd lock of the week is going to be the Buccaneers -5.5.
I like it. I'm
sorry.
This probably would have been my 4th. This would have been batting cleanup for me if we had a baseball order here.
This is more a fate of the Panthers defense right now. Like they're not good. They can't stop anyone. You said it when the Panthers came back and tied the game. You put it on like our group chat, like, LOL, guys, relax. Mahomes is gonna come back here. Yeah, there's a minute 30 left.
Panthers are going for 2 to tie the game. Everybody's like so into it. It's like am I losing my mind? There's a minute 45 on this clock. Like, who cares? We know exactly what happens.
That Packers meme and the Cowboys when the guys at the stands, like they're celebrating when there's a minute 30 left. All the Cowboys fans are going crazy. It's just pretty simple for me. I like a good offense against a bad defense. That's pretty much what this is. The Panthers defense is 31st in EPA, 32nd in success rate. The Bucs offense is 4th in success rate, 5th in EPA. You got a top 5 offense. There's a bottom 2 defense. That's a lock for me all the time. And I actually do think this Bucs team is really good. They have like really good wins on the season. They smoked the Eagles. They had some good wins earlier in the year.
Bro.
They beat the Lions. Yeah, the Falcons are like their own. There's like their boogeyman. They had 2 losses against the Falcons. Yeah. Outside of that, they're playing good. Now you got Mike Evans back. They have something to play for right now. I already said the NFC South is up for grabs. They have a chance of getting this thing. They have the Panthers twice on the schedule down the stretch. The Bucs have the easiest schedule according to betting markets in the NFL remaining. I like this Bucs team. I think they're damn good. I think they can cover this 5.5. I think they went by a touchdown. Panthers maybe keep this one close, but they'll pull away in the end.
Nice.
All right, next up, and it doesn't get any better than this, Wardsey.
Game of the week.
This is game of the week. This might be game of the year. The Philadelphia Eagles are on the road to take on the Baltimore Ravens. This spread moved to 3 over the last couple of days. It opened at 2.5, so some money's coming in on Baltimore. You know, you always want me to start, but I gotta give it to you. I'm passing the ball to you. You're gonna lead this one off. Eagles Ravens. What you got?
Okay, so this handicap, this is an interesting one to me. First, you got to look at Lamar's 23-3 versus the NFC in his career. That's kind of just bananas. I don't know
I
if
think
there's anything to
isn't
take.
Daniel Jones the only one that's beat him? I think that's it. I think it's one.
I have 23-3, so he has
Okay.
3 losses in his career. Maybe that's against the spread. I don't know. Um, this offense in Baltimore averaging 7 yards per play. If they keep that up, that would be an NFL record. Nobody's done that before. But okay, when I break this down, a mono roster versus roster, I think that this is a really, really even matchup. I think both teams have paths to victory. The question is, will the coaching staffs put them in the right places to do it? So my question to you, how are the Eagles going to move the ball? Because I think it's really obvious.
It's AJ Brown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they going to throw the ball 30 times in this game? Or are they going to waste downs handing the ball off against this number one rush
Well,
defense?
you can't. No. Hold off on that. Wasting down saying the ball to Saquon Barkley right now. I don't give a
Nobody
fuck.
runs
If you're
on
Ravens,
Baltimore.
it
care
doesn't
who you
matter.
are.
A good run offense can always beat a good run defense. It's how the NFL works. Just because the Ravens are second EP per rush on defense does not mean Saquon can't get his. Saquon Barkley is playing football that I've never seen before. I was thinking about this as an Eagles fan. I can't remember a player this good right now. Like I am out of words for how good he looks. I think he can get his. But back to your question. The AJ Brown matchup against the Ravens secondary is the biggest mismatch, in my opinion, in this football game. Brand Stevens ain't covering that guy. Nate Wiggins, like he's got like 150 pounds on the guy. There is no one in the Ravens secondary that can cover AJ Brown. AJ Brown right now is 8th in the NFL in receiving yards with only 39 catches. Like it's insane the amount of productions he's putting up. He's first in the NFL in yards per route run. Now, a big one here to watch. Devontae Smith did not practice again on Wednesday. He did not play last week. I think they really need him in this one. I think it's a big injury just in this game because they'll throw like 3 bodies at AJ Brown, and the Ravens linebackers are fast. They can cover Dallas Goedert. So I'm kind of eyeing the Devonta Smith injury, but I'm against you. I think the Eagles can run this football on the Ravens. Now, Michael Pierce is coming back for the Ravens potentially as well. He's a big body up the middle. How much he'll play, we'll see. But I'm with you. I think this is like 2 Goliaths running headfirst into each other. Because on the other side of the ball, the Eagles haven't seen a quarterback like Lamar Jackson all season. It's been a long time since seen a quarterback this good. Lamar is playing out of his mind right now. And I was all on board with Saquon Barkley MVP after that game. And then you watch Monday Night Football and you go, okay, Lamar is like, you know what I mean? Like he's got to be the MVP still. He right now is on pace to be the first player in the Super Bowl era to lead quarterbacks in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and rushing yards. It's never been done. So he's playing so good. I honestly don't know where this game's going to go. You can break this matchup in so many different ways. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to come down to who has the ball last. So I'm going to take the Eagles right now, -2.5, because they're playing so good. This might be the best 7-game stretch I've seen this team play, even back to 2022. They've outgained their opponents in their 7 straight wins by 100+ yards in every game. That hasn't been done since 1942. The Eagles just seem complete to me right now. The defense is playing so damn well. The offense is playing so damn well. The Ravens defense is the worst unit in this game. And I think the Eagles were 2-5 in the red zone last week, and they still scored 37 points. Like they could have put up a 50 burger against the Rams. I'm going to take the Eagles -2.5. I don't love it. And you know what? If they lose, I think, hey, you lost to the Ravens. It's not the end of the world, but I'm just so excited to put eyeballs on this game.
Yeah, I don't know what Sirianni's going to do. Because personally, I think if he hands the ball off 25 times a game, this is going to be an under game. I don't see it getting to 51.5 because, the Ravens are handing the ball off 25 times a game. So this could be a really, really quick game. But if Sirianni decides to air it out, AJ Brown could have 200 yards in the first half. Like
his total's at 91 right now. It's pretty high. Yeah, I was looking at his total. And I can't. 90's a lot.
I would not run the ball, and that's crazy to say because your running back just ran the ball for 255 yards. But
you had 302 yards of offense in scrimmage. I'm running out of words for this guy. Who do you like, Warren? Yeah. Give me a pick.
I'm going to take the Ravens -3, but I don't love it.
I don't hate it. Like I said, this is as good as a matchup as you're going to get. Cannot wait for this one. I wish it was a night game. I wish this one got flexed.
Yeah, same. Because this night game kind of stinks.
Well, it didn't stink at the beginning of the year, right? Like when you look at this one, when you're looking at 49ers on the road to Buffalo, you were going, this is as juicy as it gets. But Not so much anymore. Just quickly on this one, you love a weather stat. There's 15-kilometer winds heading into Buffalo, and they're expecting 2 to 7 centimeters of snow on Sunday night. It could be another snowball in a primetime game. The
Yeah.
49ers are just so banged up right now. I wrote a story today at The Score about how Fred Warner is playing with a fractured bone in his ankle. Christian McCaffrey is just not the same player, in my opinion, right now since he's been back from injury. Brock Purdy was limited in practice today, but if you read the tea leaves, he threw one football during the tea period, and it was a screen pass. So, like, that's when you go the limited versus, like, how actually limited was he? I don't think he's going to play, but we'll see. Nick Bosa in practice, Trent Williams in practice.
Doesn't Brandon Allen have a broken finger too?
That I don't know. I think he practiced today. I'm not sure.
I thought he hurt his finger in that game last week.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs should be starting. He's the other quarterback. Why not let the Pasternak give it a go? Anyways, I'll pass the ball to you. What do you make of this one?
Yeah, it's too bad that these guys are all banged up because we are really losing a game that have a lot of juice. I don't think this point spread is anywhere near high enough if all those guys are going to miss or are banged up. We saw Green Bay get in the lead and really, really pull away. I could see the Bills doing the exact same thing because if it's Brandon Allen, they don't have the firepower to get down the field and score quickly. So I'm definitely leaning Bills, but we got to see if Purdy's there. If Purdy's there and the spread is 7, no, Purdy's hurt. Give me the Bills. Purdy in or out, I'm taking the Bills.
I like the Bills no matter who the hell starts a quarterback for the 49ers. The reason why I didn't make it a lock is because of the weather. Like the wind and the snow, like just anything can happen with that kind of stuff.
That's why
it does lean into
Josh
Buffalo.
Allen.
Exactly.
Josh Allen's weatherproof, baby.
The 49ers right now, Warren, are allowing 1.6 EPA per scramble from quarterbacks. That is on pace to be the worst from any defense in the NFL. They can't stop scrambling quarterbacks. Who is like the best scrambling quarterback in the NFL when he gets on the move? It's Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Like we saw Geno Smith like take off for a scramble touchdown against 49ers like 2 weeks ago to win the game. Matt Milano is fully participated in practice as well. This week looks like he's coming back. The 49ers run defense is just so bad. They're 26 in rush success rate allowed. It's why the Packers were my favorite bet last week, and that came to fruition. Josh Jacobs ran wild. I think James Cook has a good day on the ground, but
they might be getting Dre Greenlaw back this week, which I think would maybe hurt the quarterback scrambles a little bit. So I would go too crazy on the Allen rushing numbers if Greenlaw's in.
All right. The finale here, the Monday night game, Cleveland Browns on the road take on the Denver Broncos. The Broncos offense right now is playing good football under Mr. Bo Nix. I know it was the Raiders defense last week, but Bo Nix still looked good. He looked good against the Falcons. And he's still no idea what to make of the Denver Broncos. Warrensy, can Jameis Winston and the Browns pull off another upset?
I have no idea what to make of the Broncos offense either, man. I saw a stat that was kind of crazy. It was Bill Barnwell on Twitter, and he was arguing with somebody because somebody said, you would know Bo Nix is one of the best quarterback this season in deep throws. And Bill Barnwell comes back at him and was like, Bo Nix has completed the most deep passes of anyone in the league. That's because he's attempted the most deep passes of anyone in the league. And it's because he's thrown the third most passes of any type of anyone in the league. He's 28th in QBR on those throws, on those deep throws. So, yes, he's completing balls down the field, but he's not doing it often and he's not doing it efficiently. I think this is a whole mirage, this whole Denver thing. I am looking to fade them going down the stretch heavily. But again, this isn't the week. It wasn't the week last week against the Raiders. And even Gardner Minshew almost covered against these guys. But I think I'm waiting one more week before this Denver Broncos schedule really heats up.
So this is kind of a mismatch against a Jim Schwartz aggressive style gap firing defense. Jim Schwartz, like as an Eagles fan, I've watched this and I know this. They've always been really bad at stopping screen passes and short yardage passes. The Denver Broncos are 4th in success rate and 5th in EPA on screen passes this season. The Broncos offensive line has done such a good job. They're 4th in pressure rate allowed. But guess who's coming to town? In my opinion, the front runner should be front runner defensive player of the year in Myles Garrett. You can get Myles Garrett now plus 900 to win defensive player of the year. TJ Watt is
Yeah.
first right now. What am I missing here? It's like TJ Watt's worst season. I don't understand it. Myles Garrett is clearly the better football player this year.
Well,
So
I think it's crazy that Lamar Jackson's not running away with MVP, but it's just the narrative thing, right? Those guys won it last year. So I think in order to win back to back, you almost have to like improve upon your year, which is going to be easy for Lamar Jackson, but it's not going to be easy for Myles Garrett.
Yeah, I just think he's clearly the best defensive player so far. I really want to see Jameis Winston against like this Broncos the secondary that they play a ton of man coverage under Vance Joseph. Just let Jameis cook in this one. I'm gonna take the Browns plus 5.5. I have no idea what to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Broncos because I do think they take care of business, but I will be fading the Broncos heavily down the ststretch.
All righty, Warrensy, recap your 3 locks. I went 3-0 last week. What did you go?
I went 2-1. I was so rattled. Jaden Reed had 26 yards on the first 4 snaps of the game, and he didn't get a target. That's not the game, dude.
You would also just sit there ripping your hair out.
In the first drive, they go bang, boom, boom. Jaden Reed, 26 yards and feeling great. I'm like, hey, I also had 100 yards on a ticket. I'm like, this has a chance.
It's looking good.
Nope.
No.
Didn't even. And he was played the whole rest of the game. Yeah. He was on the field every snap.
Oh, it was the Josh Jacobs fest. Anyways, 5-1 is the show last week. Let's keep it rolling, Warrensy. What you got? Recap it.
I got Commanders and Titans over 44.5, Rams minus 2.5, and the Texans minus 4.5.
All right, I got Anthony Richardson over 181 passing yards. The Jacksonville Jaguars plus 4.5. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers minus 5.5. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving to all of our American listeners out there. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please do. Wherever you listen to your audio podcast, please give us a like and subscribe there as well. And we will talk to you later.